So say nearly van forever, Irish. I know, before you say it, my Irish is appalling. I know. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my very best. Oh, and happy St Patrick's Day for Thursday. I'm not going to say that in Gaelic. Hi Bill! I wanted to make this video for, I should have made it on the 20th of January, which was the anniversary of your 2 years at NBC, but things got in the way, so I'm going to do it now, while I have the chance. Okay? I wanted to make this video for you because you've been at NBC 2 years and you've been pretty amazing. So I thought we'd look back at some of the news stories you've done over the last 2 years and why they had an impact on me. Obviously I can't cover everything, for two reasons. There's too much, and secondly because I couldn't see some of your news items either because they weren't posted online or they had a copyright restriction on them. Of course, the first big story of your 2 years at NBC was the fact you were going there in the first place. Big shock to me, you know. But it was only because I thought you were in the States, you know. Sooner, because NBC is American, so as soon as the tweet I read said NBC, I was like, oh my god, my friend's gone to NBC, he's gone to America, I'll never see him again. But you didn't. You stayed at Gray's Inn, thankfully, and I've got to see you loads of times and it's been great, so. And you've been wonderful. So, we'll start with 2014. Your 2 years started with reports in Syria, which is no surprise because that was just carrying on from the stuff you were doing at ITV News. Even though you weren't actually there. I followed your reports from the beginning of the war while you were back at ITN. You did a report in which you said, there is qualified progress in Homs. Well, now there's a ceasefire in virtually all of Syria. Temporary maybe, fragile possibly, but it's there. I thought that pretty qualified progress, wouldn't you? Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. I would pray with all my heart that keeps going. Honestly, 5 years is more than enough for this. It needs to end. We'll stick with Syria for a while for a couple of other little things that caught my attention. First of all, there was your SoundCloud interview about the Damascus bubble. That was interesting. So you're telling me absolutely nobody inside of Damascus knew what was going on outside? You know, those country people, they're all, you know, they honestly were that naive and thought, it's just them, this is never going to happen to us. Oh dear. Now they know different. One of the best stories from Damascus for me was the interview you did with the 4 children in the overcrowded school who had lost family members. Tariq, Rodena, Dana and Nila, I believe their name was. It was so moving and I'll confess I cried my eyes out. If you ever do go back to Syria at some point, if you could do a follow-up to that and find out what happened to these kids, I would really love to know, because that was one amazing piece of journalism and I cried. But I managed to not cry until you got to the end and you gave them a little daddy hug. I was all the worst. It's very good. Very good. I hope they're okay. Next is, and I'm going to steal an actual news title here, is Rio ready? No, to be honest. Who in the Olympic Committee and FIFA, and we'll get more on that later, who thought it was a good idea to give the World Cup or the Olympics to Rio? Rio is a great city, no doubt about that. But I watched a news item where the spectators at the World Cup were climbing stairs that were so unsafe. I thought, this is a disaster waiting to happen. Their bay is still filthy now. In fact, I think they've been told they've got to move their sailing elsewhere. And I'm not surprised. I suspect they're going to have major problems though. I honestly do, and I'm still really cynical. I mean, I hope they prove me wrong. And Don has asked me if you could do a follow-up to that story, please, because he quite liked it. Next we have, oh yes, the mystery of MH370. That's still going on. where the hell did that plane go? I mean, it's the 21st century. A plane should not just be able to disappear like that. It's ridiculous. And then there's that flapper on from Reunion. And those so-called experts in Paris still don't seem to be convinced of whether it was from H370 or not. I wish they'd tell us one way or the other. For the sake of the victims' families, if nothing else. 2 years later and we still have no idea where this plane is. I mean, horrible. Just. Next up is not a news story as such, but something very dear to both of us. Cry, the London Marathon. I have had so much joy and pleasure working for Cry, for volunteering for Cry. It's given me a chance to go to London, it's given me a chance to meet new friends, do something worthwhile, meet you. It's been amazing and I've loved every minute of it. You nearly backed out of the one a couple of years ago because of lack of training, and you've said this year you may not do it because of lack of training. In 2013 you went to Boston and then came back. You were going to do a week of training and then you didn't because you went to Boston and didn't do anything. You still ran the marathon. So lack of training is not an excuse for you. Okay? I know it isn't. You can do the 2016 marathon. I know you can. Unfortunately, I might not be able to be there to cheer you on this time. But I'll be here cheering you on, I promise. And I know you can do it. Go out there and knock 'em dead, okay? Because I know you can. Oh, say hi to Sarah, by the way. Next up, oh, Jindo. Your reports from Jindo are just heartbreaking and anger-inducing too, which is what prompted my blog, A Captain Goes Down with His Ship, or does he? The thing that really made me mad, not only did the captain abandon his ship in the first place, but he passed himself off as a passenger. Apparently the crew are possibly facing the death penalty. Now, I personally don't agree with the death penalty because I'm a pacifist, but if that's their punishment, then so be it. Great reporting there, Bill, and thank you for letting me use your picture on my blog, by the way. That was very kind. I really appreciate it. Next up is a lot of stuff because our next subject is Daesh. ISIS, ISIL, Islamic State, whatever. I'm sticking with Daesh. They have been in the news so much and you have covered a lot of stories about them. Of course, one of the scariest things was the murder of James Foley, Stephen Sotloff and Kenji Goto. As a journalist, and I'm a journalist myself, that was kind of scary. I love your news stories about Daesh. However, when I saw you get onto the front line with the Kurds, my first reaction should have been, this is a cracking piece of journalism. Which it was. However, remembering, and as you pointed out in the piece, that 2 journalists had already been killed by Daesh, my first reaction wasn't. My first reaction on seeing you that close was, what on earth are you doing? And the fact they said, peace be with you, after Daesh killed 2 journalists is kind of creepy. Very kind of them, but creepy. Ugh. So great piece of journalism, but be careful, okay? Speaking of journalists, then we had the horrible attack on Charlie Hebdo. This was just horrific. But I think the fact that the next edition sold out speaks volumes about how people think about Charlie Hebdo and also how people believe in free speech. So from tragedy comes hope, and that's a good thing. Of course, talk of Daesh leads us into aeroplanes after they claimed to have bombed the Russian Metrojet over the Sinai Desert. And that actually brings to mind one of your best pieces. After the sad incident of Andre Lewis crashing a Germanwings plane in the French Alps, questions of course needed to be answered. One of which was, why was there an advert in London's Tube for Germanwings with the tagline, "Fly with us and be surprised"? Yeah. It was very soon removed, and quite right too. Of course, the obvious question is why Andre Lubitz was even allowed to go near a plane. And there have actually been some updates on that as well. I've posted the link to a story for you on Twitter, if you get to see it. Okay. What I loved about your coverage of this was your persistence in getting answers from Carsten Spohr. That's how you pronounce it. CEO of Lufthansa. I think you tried your best there. I was hoping you would actually jump over the fence and keep chasing him. A bit like Lucy Manning used to do, you know? Just go around the microphone. Yeah. I think if you'd have done that, you'd have got arrested. So I'm glad you didn't. But bravo for being as persistent as you could be. Yeah. FIFA and Sepp Blatter. This guy is still protesting this had nothing to do with him, even though he's been banned from FIFA for probably forever. You had so much fun with that. And he made a change that you could do that. Just smirk was hilarious. And nice. You just were able to have a bit of a giggle with that one, and I'm glad, because like you said, a lot of your stuff is heartbreaking, it's sad, it's, you know, everything you do involves death sometimes, you know, so it's just, it was nice that you could just take a break from all that and just have a laugh and a giggle. Yeah. So I enjoyed that one, because I saw you smiling for once, which is nice. I'll finish with your favourite 2014 story, which would have been, of course, 25 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Just reading your blog, I can tell how much it meant witnessing it to you. I wish I could have witnessed it too, rather than watch it at home, but it was still absolutely awesome, and I can understand why you really, really were proud to be there. So there you are. Some of your stories from your first 2 years at NBC and what I thought. Thank you for your inspiration, thank you for being my mentor, my friend and everything else, and I will see you very soon, I hope. Continue to give us some of your great journalism. Bye bye. One last thing. Cool hat, don't you think?